Hey everybody, this is Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for our DIYs today. Hey everyone, and welcome to DIY number 1. So this right here is just a tag that I got from the Dollar Tree from 4th of July, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the stars. Uh, if you couldn't get one for the 4th of July, they have these tags for pretty much every holiday. For spring, summer, fall, winter, Halloween, you name them, they have them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this one, but this is the one that I had. So I go ahead and cut off the hanger, and I didn't record it, but I actually pulled all that glitter off the front of the sign, but I still am going to use the back of the sign for this project. So I'm using white chalk paint here, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it 2 generous coats of paint. I didn't want a full coverage because this is farmhouse, and I did want it to look a little, weathered. And so after the paint is dry, I actually do go over and sand it just a little bit, but I'll just let you go ahead and watch me paint. So now that I had it painted and sanded down, I'm using surface wax, and this is by Chalk Couture. So basically, I'm sealing in the paint so that I can use my transfer on top without all of the paint coming off when I pull it off, because it is a sticky transfer. It's reusable. They're fabulous. I love them. So I'm just going to do the Mr. Miyagi wax on wax off here. So this is my transfer right here. It's like a screen transfer. So I am using my fuzzing cloth, and I'm fuzzing and fuzzing and fuzzing so that when I lay it down, it doesn't stick permanently to my project, because that would be no fun. So you fuzz it, and then you place it where you want it to go. I'm going to be fancy and measure, and then realize that even though I measure it, it's still not quite right. So I'm going to move it again. Right there is my black chalk paste. This stuff is awesome, and why I love it is because you don't need very much at all to make the magic happen. So make sure as you're watching this video and you love what you're seeing to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So I'm just using my little squeegee to stir it up. I could have used a little spatula, but I was being lazy. So I'm just going to put the black on, and then you take the squeegee and you squeegee it off. So you hardly use any. This jar is going to last me forever and ever and ever. And if you're interested in Chalk Couture or wanted to see what it's about, my link will be in the description box below. So I went ahead and pulled the transfer off. I did have a little bit of bleed, but I went ahead and fixed that with a little bit of white paint. And then I'm going to add stripes, because I think stripes is so farmhouse chic that I love it. So I'm just using masking tape from the Dollar Tree and black chalk paint and putting it on there. And I didn't measure, I just eyeballed. That's the best thing about farmhouse, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to add another stripe to the bottom so that it's like framing in what I'm going to have on the front of this sign. So as you can see, there was a little bit of, what's that called? It came out from underneath the tape, but that's okie dokie because we are gonna sand it anyways. Eventually I'm gonna put the sign back in the view. So I just, I'm taking my little sanding block and I just sanded it, and I think it looks even better that it's not so stark black. So I had this sign left, this little home sign left over from a a picture that I had taken apart and used the frame. And I'm so glad that I kept it because it is perfect for this right here. So this is lamb's ear from Walmart. You get 2 sprigs in a bunch, and I want to say it was, I don't know, like $2. I mean, it's not expensive at all. So I'm just going to use my stapler to put the lamb's ear on, because this would require a whole lot of hot glue, and it's just more secure this way. So I like to staple on my greenery, and the sign was the perfect thickness to be able to do this. The staples did not come out the other side. It was awesome. I've done it sometimes where the staples do kind of poke out the other side, but I just flip it over and I just bend them in. No problem. So I picked up this sunflower from the Dollar Tree, and I like the non-traditional color. So this orange is so gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I love that deep burnt orange color against the black and white sign with that little bit of, you know, fuzzy green. Oh gosh, I absolutely love this so much. So I'm going to put a hanger on the top here, and I'm just going to use the hole that's already there. This ribbon I got from Michaels. It was super cheap after Easter, and I thought, oh my gosh, I could totally use this for everything. So I picked it up. So I'm just going to put it through the hole, put some hot glue down, using my scissors to try to keep the glue from burning me, because, you know, your girl here burns herself all the time. So I'm just making a little, putting that on the top there, and then I'm going to staple that on as well so it's double secure. Later on, I actually put a little bit of jute and a little loop on the back, because I realized I wasn't going to be able to quite hang it the way that I had done that, but I loved the way it looked. And then if you feel like you need any more lamb's ear, I just put one more piece in, and I just used hot glue because it was one piece, and it was just the leaf itself, no stems. So here she is, all done. I absolutely love it. Let me know in the comments what you think of this one. Hey there, and welcome to DIY number 2. So this is the beach sign that I had gotten from the Dollar Tree last summer, and then a Christmas sign from last summer. So I just went ahead and flipped it over, and I'm going to paint the whole thing white. So I'm going to do 2 good coats of white to cover it all up, but you know, again, it's going to be farmhouse, so it doesn't have to be perfect. That, again, is my favorite thing about farmhouse, is non-perfection is perfection in farmhouse world. So I'm just going to let you watch me paint this thing white. The sunrise behind me. I love my heat tool. It's for impatient people. Kind of gets things moving a little quicker than it would normally would. Although it is summertime, so it's not as bad. But in the winter time is my favorite, because, you know, it's cold and paint takes forever to dry. So now I'm going to distress it up a bit. So I'm just adding a little bit of black chalk paint over the top of this, along the sides, just to give it some more dimension. I love black and white together. It is the reoccurring theme in my videos and in my home. So this is black and white buffalo check that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to go ahead and use my just regular dollar store glue stick to adhere it to the bottom of this sign. This squeegee has been the best thing ever. It came with vinyl that I ordered off of Amazon. I don't know exactly, you know, how to order them individually, but I'm sure that you probably could. But I love this squeegee for using because I'm not a fan of Mod Podge. I only use it when I absolutely have to, but a good old glue stick is my favorite. I've been doing this for years. So I'm going to take this bottom, the Christmas sign, I did paint it white and distress it with black as well so that it matches. And I'm just gluing it to the bottom of the sign. So in this shot, I actually left, I don't know, like a ½ inch of space underneath because I was originally going to use this as just a wall hanging. So I did put it up a little bit, but you'll see in the very last clip on the video, I actually took it off, moved it all the way square to the bottom, and I'm using it as a standing sign because, you know, we can only have so much stuff on our walls. And I just thought this was super cute, sitting on a shelf, you know, on my desk. It doesn't matter where. So I'm just taking my ruler and I went down 2 widths of each ruler, and that's where I decided to put the lines. And then I'm using the black paint marker from the Dollar Tree to make my shiplap lines. So here I'm writing Hello Pumpkin. It's out of shot, but I did use a pencil first because I don't necessarily like my handwriting, but the Hello Pumpkin, I wanted it to be real simple, nothing fancy, so handwriting is just going to work out just fine. And I think it came out perfect. So I'm going to use my sanding block, which I also got from the dollar store, and I'm just going to take down those lines a little bit because they are pretty stark for what my look is that I'm going here. So I'm just going to go over the lines and fade them out a little bit. I'm going to go over the top of the scrapbook paper so that it doesn't look so, you know, stark and brand newy on top of my sign. And then I'm also took a little sand to the Hello Pumpkin so it wasn't so bright. So this arch I got from the Dollar Tree probably like 4 months ago. I bought, I don't know, probably 20 of them. I fell in love and I figured I'd use them eventually. And I've only done one project so far with all these arches. But so it had a little sign on the front. I just pulled that off. I did use white chalk paint on it and then sand it down. I removed the hanger from the back and now I'm using hot glue. And I'm just going to adhere this to the front of my sign, and it squares up so perfectly with that little box. So this bow, oh my gosh, I literally cut out probably 45 minutes of video of me trying to figure out what kind of bow I was going to put here. As you can see on my right there, I have all this ribbon. I was going to make a messy bow and then I didn't like it. It was a hot mess, but this is just a simple bow. I'm definitely not going to be the person that teaches you how to make bows. Maybe one of these days I will get better at bow making. So I just stapled down the ends and then I put a little hot glue right there in the center just so that it would hold the middle as well as the sides, and I didn't want to put a staple right through the center of it. And then I fluff my bow and it is so pretty and ready to go. So this little crate again came from the Dollar Tree. I just have a little cup of water and I'm adding some of that antique Waverly wax just to thin it out some because it is super thick. It's like the end of my bottle, that's why it's in that little container. Don't mind my coffee there. I always drink coffee while I'm crafting. In the morning it's hot coffee, and the late afternoon it's iced coffee, and then even sometimes at night I'll have hot coffee before I go to bed. I'm one of those people that could totally drink coffee and go night-night. So I'm just going to go ahead and stain this whole thing. And the great part about the watered down Waverly antique wax is that it has no smell and it dries super quick. I'm doing the sides in the slats on the bottom. The only thing I didn't do was the outside bottom because it's going to be glued down to the sign that we're working on, and there was no need to put any stain there because you're not going to be able to see it anyways. And then with the little bit of moisture that is in there, sometimes the glue doesn't stick as well. So if you are going to glue something onto another surface, and you can avoid painting or staining it, then I wouldn't, because then the glue sticks better from wood to wood. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the back, and I'm adding glue to my unpainted bottom, and I'm going to stick it inside of the big box, the shelf part of the box, right up against my arch. So any of these steps can be removed, added. You can add more, change the colors. If you don't like the buffalo check in the back, you didn't even have to do that part. You could have done all shiplap, no shiplap, all buffalo check, you name it. So I'm just using this little wooden wheel I had to kind of stick it underneath there so that I could make it a little more even. I got this Fluorofoam from Michaels. They sell it. I got a huge container for super cheap. There was a point in time where I couldn't find Fluorofoam at the Dollar Tree, so I was able to order it on Michaels.com, and I felt like I even got a better deal than I did at the Dollar Tree. This is faux boxwood. I got this off of Amazon, because you know, your girl loves Dollar Tree and Amazon. I cannot help it. It is a horrible addiction, but I do love it. So I'm just taking these, cutting these off, and I'm going to stick them in there wherever I feel like I like them. You're going to see that I stick them all in there, and then I decide, that's not my jam. I need to fix it. So this is one of those cotton stems from the Dollar Tree. Right now I'm cutting off the bottom to make it short. I thought one would be, you know, leaving it in there with this, with the 4 pods on the one stem was going to be good. I end up changing my mind. So here you see me cutting each one of those sprigs into half. Not even half, really. So I'm taking the bottom 2, separating from the top, just to give it a little more height difference so that they're not all the same size. I just didn't want it to look really uniform. I wanted it to look really farmhouse and, you know, tailored to what I was going for. But again, you can use any greenery that you want to. Lamb's ear would be pretty in here, eucalyptus. So I did cut that cotton pod thing in half to spread it out some, sticking some more boxwood in there to go around it. See, and then you could totally, like, because they're on a wire, you can, you know, maneuver them to make them to look just the way that you want them to. These pumpkin picks are from the Dollar Tree. Last year I had one package left over, so I haven't seen them yet this year, but I know that they're coming. But I was doing this video and I wanted to put pumpkins in there because my sign says hello pumpkin. So I just trimmed them down, figured out where I wanted to put them, and like I said, it's all up to you. I might even take them back out and paint them white. This is a little creamy for me, but for video purposes, I just went ahead and left them, but I think I will pull them out before I display them and paint them white, or just, you know, give it like a whitewash so it brings it down a little bit. So I'm just playing with it. I just wanted to see what looks good, where I wanted everything, and all that good stuff. This part takes a while, but you just do it until your eyes are happy and you love what you see. So this is so cute. So here it is. I'm going to show it to you hanging. So this is way number 1. You can hang it on the wall. I did put a jute hanger on it. You could see that I just tied it in the front there and put it like that. Or, like I told you previously, I had actually removed the Hello Pumpkin part of the sign, moved it all the way to the bottom to make it square, and this is it standing up. So I prefer it standing up. You could do it any way that you want to. I hope that you love this DIY as much as I do. Here we are at DIY number 3. So these signs right here are leftover beware signs from Halloween of last year. I'm just using the second one as a straight edge so that I could draw my shiplap lines on the one on the bottom. I'm using the paint marker from the Dollar Tree, but you can use whatever markers you want. You could use Sharpie, you could use pencil, whatever floats your boat. So I'm going to take this white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the whole sign white. I'm going to do that beautiful gnome transfer on this sign, but I have to use the surface wax first because we don't want to rip all the paint off. So I'm going to go ahead and use the surface wax, and we're going to wax on and wax off. This one was, it took a little longer to dry on this sign. I don't know if I went too heavy-handed or what the deal was, but so I put it on, and then I go to wax it off. And as I slide my hand down the sign, you can see that I kind of like get stuck in the wax. So it's not quite buffed off enough. See, right there. So you want it to be a smooth, solid finish on top before you go ahead and lay the transfer on. So isn't he adorable? I love this gnome. I bought the set from Chalk Couture, and there is 3 different gnomes. This is the one that I picked for today. So I'm just fuzzing him so he doesn't stick permanently to what we're working on here, but that I'll be able to take him off easy after we apply the chalk paste to it. And I'm going to line him up where I want him and push him down really secure so that I know that there won't be any bleeding. So that color down there on the left-hand corner is like a terracotta. It is absolutely beautiful. I just opened this up. This is actually an ink. I didn't have the color I wanted to use in the chalk paste. Ink is typically used for glass or ceramic or fabric because once you heat set it, it is permanent. But it worked out just fine for this sign. So I am just going to use this orange color on the skinny lines in his hat, and then the rest of him will be black. My favorite part of these transfers is I will wash it when I'm done with it. I just use a Clorox wipe, get it all off, dry it off, put it right back on its backing, and I can use it over and over and over again. This makes me so happy. I am a big tree hugger. I hate throwing things away. So the fact that I can reuse these over and over again is amazing, because when I used to use my Cricut as a stencil, then, you know, it's like you use it as a stencil and then you rip the stencil off and throw it in the garbage. So this way, I love it. I get to reuse it over and over again, and who wouldn't want to use him over and over again? He is super cute. These are 5-gallon paint sticks, paint stir sticks that I cut to the width of the sign with my miter saw outside. You can use a miter box, you can use miter shears, however you want. I love my big saw. It makes everything so quick and so fast. So I just stain them up and I'm gluing them onto the bottom to cover up those indentions, those cuts into the top and bottom of the sign. Give it more of a framed look. And then here comes the fun part. So I wanted to make a little garland for him to be holding. So these are a bunch of cut up ribbons and fabric. And I'm just running through this real quick. As you can see, I just kind of loop it on the back and then pull the tails through. You can tie them in a knot over there. You can flip them one way over the other. You know, whatever way that you want to tie them onto the jute twine that I'm using to hold these. I tried a couple different ways. I was trying to get it the best so that the patterns in my fabrics would show, especially this adorable little blue truck with the pumpkins in the back. So I'm just making this right here, and then once I figured out how I was gonna have it on there, I did trim them down so that they're all the same size and that they're not like hanging off the bottom of the sign, because I just want him to look like he's holding a banner. So I am going to use another one of those sunflowers for this sign, and magnetic buttons. So I want this sign to be dual purpose. So we're going to use it for fall, and we're also going to use it for Halloween. So I just take the buttons, I glue one magnetic button to the sign, and then one magnetic button to the back of the sunflower, and then I could take it on and off. How cute is he? I love the big sunflower. My little Nomeo, so happy holding his banner. So I went ahead and made another one for Halloween. So I did the same thing. I just added a little bit more. We did buffalo check, we did pumpkins, and we did a Halloween fabric. Then I had these Black Widows left over, Black Widow jewel rings left over from Halloween last year, and that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to cut off the ring part, and then I'm going to glue another magnetic button to her butt, and then she will be able to adhere right to this one that's already on the board. I love this DIY. This one is my absolute favorite from the ones that I did today. Tell me what you think. What would you have done different? Do you like my combination of fall and Halloween? I just think it's super cute. I adore it. So here it is. You could just see it in all its glory in fall. It's so cute. Oh, I love it. I hope you love it too. Thanks for being here, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me what you think about my Nomeo sign. I appreciate every single one of you. Here we are at our last DIY for today, DIY number 4. So I got this pumpkin decor, pumpkin figurine, pumpkin, I got this pumpkin at the dollar. It's been a long day. I have got it at the Dollar Tree last year. I had a couple of them left over. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the Antique Waverly Wax in the grooves around the pieces that are set up on top of this. So the background pieces, basically. Cut off the hanger because we won't be using that. So I'm just going to stain all the way around. It was like super thick because, like I said, this is the end of a bottle. So I just sprayed it with some water just to help thin the area out some. Now see how much smoother it is. When in doubt, add water. Even to your chalk paints. Like if your chalk paint gets thick towards the end of the bottle, just add water and shake it up. Not a ton, but just enough to give it a little bit so it will thin out just a little bit. So I'm just going to wipe off the excess with a paper towel. And it just shows some pretty wood grain on the bottom, even though it's just that little thin plywood kind of board, but it looks so much better with the antique wax. So I'm going to use plaster on this, my favorite color, because it's not bright white and it's not super creamy. It's somewhere it's happy in the middle there. So I'm just going to paint these ovals in the middle and the two sides this plaster color. So I'm just, after it's dry, I'm just going to go ahead and use my sanding block just to sand it down, smooth it out a little bit. It's not the smoothest wood in the world, so I just wanted to smooth it out and then lighten up a little bit of that antique wax because it was a little darker than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. You can always, if it's too dark for you, you could do a whitewash on top of it. You could totally change the entire color scheme of this project that I'm doing, but I love these neutral colors. So this is Hello Fall, came from the Dollar Tree last year. This is like a burlap thing on top of the front. And just so you know, if you ever need to remove stickers, just apply heat and they come off fine and dandy. So this is me pulling off the burlap off the front because I wanted to use the front of the sign. It came off relatively easy. I just used some scissors to cut it out the bottom. It was really stuck on the bottom, but I eventually get it all out. So I'm just using my sanding block to knock off. There was a ton of glitter under that. I had no idea there was going to be that much glitter underneath that. So I'm going to use my sanding block and I'm just going to knock off all the glitter. And I kind of like the texture that's left behind. So that's why I really wanted to use the front of this sign. So let me clean it because if I left all that glitter, it would be everywhere. So we're going to use plaster again and we're going to paint everything but this, well, no, the whole thing. We're going to paint the whole thing with the plaster except for the stand that's holding it so it stands up. So now I'm going to use the color Pumpkin by Waverly, and I'm just going to add, you know, the little lines that give it that real look, the indentations that give it the pumpkin its character. So the paint was still wet. So you want to do this part when your paint is still slightly damp because it helps with the blending of, you know, the colors that you're going to lay on top here. So I had a combination of the orange and the white. And I just keep blending those back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until I get the look that I'm going for. But what was really helpful is that the white paint on the bottom was still slightly wet. So I'm just going back and forth until I get that smooth look that I'm going for. And then I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of the dark wax into the stem there, and then I do drag a little bit through the orange. I use paper towels a lot to help blend. It just kind of gets all the excess paint off. So see, I love antique wax over white. It really does give it that wood grain look to it. So this pumpkin was it was like two pumpkins together, almost like it looked like a napkin holder from last year. I just broke it apart and I used the other piece for something else last year. So I had this piece left over and I couldn't throw it away. So I had it. It's the perfect addition to this project that I'm working on. I just painted it pumpkin. And then I added a little bit of the antique wax in the crevices there. So then I'm just going to take my sanding smudge and I'm just going to rough up this pumpkin. But you see how much texture is there from the burlap. It was like they put the burlap on and then they sprayed everything on top of it. So it left this really cool texture on it because I love texture. So after sanding, the plaster started to look more yellow. So I wanted to go back over it one more time just to give it a little bright. See, look, you can totally see the texture right there. So I'm going to dry her up. So I like to use these tumbling tower blocks that you can get at the Dollar Tree as spacers when I'm doing multiple things layered in front of each other. So I'm going to put the little pumpkin in front of the medium-sized pumpkin. And I love the stand, so we're going to leave the stand there. And then I'm going to take the bigger pumpkin and put it behind the medium pumpkin, but I'm going to use a tumbling tower block to give it some space so you get that real 3D look that looks so cute when it's together. And because the pumpkin was like the perfect size, it doesn't even need a stand on the end. It just kind of nestles right in there. So again, you can do any color combination that matches your house. These are the colors that match mine. So I just wanted to do solid, white, and the antique wax. So now I'm going to embellish my little 3 pumpkin stander shelf sitter just a little bit. I did get that super vintagey, kind of boho looking sunflower ribbon. I'm not a fan of sunflowers. They're not my favorite, but this ribbon right here is fire. It is so cute. I love the way that they did it. So they have that more boho-y look to the sunflower. A real more mustardy color to the yellow sunflowers. So I'm just folding my ribbon in half, giving it tuxedo ends. And of course, this is where I play with it. Do I want to put that there? Do I want to put it somewhere else? So originally I start it there, put the bow on top, and decide, I don't like that. So I pull it out, and it's just going to be the bow on this one. So I just literally tied a bow like I'm tying my shoes. Nothing fancy. I even like that the middle part is not sunflower, that it's the cream color that's on the bottom. I added the little sprig of eucalyptus to the bottom there, like when you see real pumpkins growing, they have the vines that come up. I thought that was kind of cute. So I did leave the hole on top of the third pumpkin, so I'm just going to use one of my small half wooden beads to cover it up because it just gives it just a little extra. And then of course I do love my Sola wood flowers, so I thought that this baby blue really popped off the orange, so I wanted to put it there. And again, you can embellish this any way that you want. You can add stuff to it, not add stuff to it, whatever works best for you. This is what works best for my space. So I had these leaves left over. I think I got them, I'm pretty sure I got them at Hobby Lobby last year. And it had buffalo check ones and it had burlap ones. So I thought, A burlap one would be super cute as, you know, the leaf that pops off the top of a pumpkin. And then I'm going to add a little bit more greenery, and this is done. So thank you so much for being part of my video today. I appreciate every single one of you for being here. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, leave your comments below, and let me know which one was your favorite DIY for today. And again, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.